Good afternoon, everyone. Chris Berryman here. How are you guys doing today on wonderful Wednesday? It is another great day to be alive, and I'm so thankful and honored to be here with you guys today for another Conversations for Humanity. Just waiting for everybody to jump on in here because this is our meet and greet time. So if you guys are watching this live, whether it be on YouTube or on Twitter, actually, and I think we also are on currently right now on Facebook too as well. Please let us know where you're jumping on from and everything, and we would love to hear from you. And we'll get the call started here in just a few minutes. And just to let you guys know, uh, welcome everyone to the Bringing Humanity Together live stream, and this is, of course, Conversations for Humanity. This is one of the three open forums under the Bringing Humanity Together umbrella where people can discuss topics related to the workplace and humanity in the workplace in a very positive and constructive way. We want to hear from you, the people from around the world, of what's really truly working for you in business today, whether it to be personal growth, development, all that kind of stuff. Because, like I said, we want to know what the issues that are out there facing people today. Because it is our goal to work with both employees and employers to bring community back to the workforce. And we always will be going live every Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, all at 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time, except for Conversations for Humanity when we have our meet and greet at 2:45. Feel free to invite your friends, coworkers, dogs, cats, who name it. We'll take them all. And just want to let you know, every Tuesday is Sharon Kara Sandy Chernoff. She is here right here with us today. And Carla Fedigan hosts Humanity Happy Hour tomorrow on Thursdays. So, like I said, as you jump on, feel free to comment in the chat where you're jumping on from, whether it be on YouTube, Twitter, uh, Facebook, on LinkedIn Live, and we'd love to have a great and engaging conversation with you. So, hello, Sandy. How are you doing today?
Hi, Chris. I'm good. Hasn't started raining here yet.
Well, if the rain is going to be here, the rain is going to be there one way or another.
Well, I think it might stay dry today, but tomorrow they're expecting 50 millimeters of rain. It's going to pour.
Uh huh.
Oh, well.
Nice.
Last thing is it's been dry for a while, so.
Right. Yeah. Well, there's always a natural balance to everything. So when it rains one little stretch, you have to kind of dry out and everything like that. It's just like right now, Florida is having a heat wave. We have like 90 to 92-degree weather, and we've had it for almost going on 3 or 4 weeks. So they're expecting the rain not to come until later in the week. So we'll just have to kind of just grit our teeth and say, "Bring us the rain, bring us the rain,"
Well, the grass and the plants and everything needs it, so it's nice to get it from time to time. But it's just we've had a very nice spring. It's been kind of summer-like, which is sort of unusual for Vancouver because usually spring is pretty rainy. So I don't really have a lot of complaints.
Yeah.
It's just
I'm just thankful for we're just even another day above ground, so I'm thankful for that.
Well, that's true too. But it's just, we really like to go out for a walk in the afternoon. If it's pouring rain, we don't do that. Mind you, it's interesting, Chris. I've told you before, I live on a golf course. I can't believe all the golfers that play in the rain.
Yeah.
They got to be real diehards. I'm a fair weather golfer. I don't play golf in the rain.
I know how that goes. I know. I've only golfed once in my life, and it was after a bad rainstorm, and it was really wet. So the fairways kind of, when you hit it, it just dropped the ball, and it didn't really go far. So it is what it is. So, but like I said, it was really nice. So we're just waiting for everyone else to jump on, Carla to jump on, and many others. So we'll get this thing kicked off here in just a couple of minutes and everything like that. So, but like what you talked about yesterday, and that was really, really, really great. Just kind of help us summarize what we discussed yesterday, Sandy.
Well, basically, we're looking at how to make a business grow, especially considering what's going on in the pandemic, and also how this pandemic has affected people in terms of making them feel anxious and stressed. And of course, that doesn't help either because that makes you lose your focus. People make more mistakes. So it's better to try and keep a positive look at things. Yes, this is difficult, and there's no question about the fact that it's difficult because many people are working remotely, they're working from home. And because of that, whoever is managing the team needs to set up some regular communication options so that the team can actually get together and have discussions about how their work is going and share information and so on and so forth, because it is really important, seeing how you're not in the same office anymore, and we need to have that connection. So it's very important to set up regular meetings so that we can communicate together. And teams that aren't doing that are going to have a problem. And of course, if you have a good culture in your organization, well, then you're going to be stronger, because that's really important that we trust each other and respect one another and so on. And that has to be built when we're together. It's kind of hard to build it on Zoom.
Yeah.
So,
You're absolutely right.
But it's just, that's what the reality is today. It just is what it is, and we have to adapt to it. I mean, there's just no other choice right now. What's going on in where I live is kind of interesting because the numbers here are actually going down. For the last couple of days, we've had numbers just in the low 300s, which is not, it's still, to me, it seems very high, but compared to what we were having, 6, 7, 800 cases a day, this is much better. And one of the reasons, oh, hi, Brian, nice to see you. One of the reasons is that about 50 to 60% of the population has now had at least one vaccine. And there's about 7 or 8% that have had 2 doses. So I think that, people being vaccinated is helping, because, it doesn't guarantee that you will not get the virus, because that's not what vaccines do. But what it does guarantee is that it will increase your immunity. So if you do get the virus, it will be a milder case, and you probably won't end up in the hospital, and you definitely won't die.
Right.
That's why it's very important to get the vaccine. And I don't understand people who don't want to get it. Like, to me, it just, because I have a healthcare background, it doesn't make any sense to me.
I know. People have to decide for themselves, and they have to make that conscious choice. And I like the way we kind of tied it in to where I'm going to dive deeper into to this today. It's about personal growth and development in a post-pandemic world. I even have seen, before even the pandemic hit, I just knew that we, as people, can have a huge opportunity to, like you say every time, Sandy, influence to impact people from the very smallest things that we do. So I'm really about the, like I said, personal growth that will lead to the professional growth, because to me they're one and the same to a certain degree and everything. So Brian, how you doing today, sir?
I'm going to check something. I'll be right back.
Doing well, thanks. How are you?
I'm doing well, man. I have to give you some kudos, man. You must gave Phil Mickelson some kind of, something, because he won another major tournament. And I'm like, yes, at 51, he wins another major.
I thought it was terrific. I enjoyed watching him. He's a very interesting guy.
He's one of the best players ever. Certainly one of the best players ever.
And on top that off, he's left-handed.
Yeah.
So,
he actually writes right-handed. He's right-handed.
I know.
But he golfs left-handed.
He learned how to play golf watching. It was either, I think his sister, Tina Mickelson, is a golf professional, teaches. And he would stand in front of her and mirror the movements, but he would do it lefty because she's right-handed. So he would look at her. And so that's where he ended up learning how to play.
Oh, that's interesting, Brian. That's very interesting.
How are you doing today, Carla?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well on this wonderful Wednesday. So today's topic is going to be about growth. Can we do it in a post-pandemic world? And we kind of touched on that yesterday a little bit with sharing cares and everything. And so that's what we're going to be talking about: personal growth and professional growth and everything. So, what's the news on the backyard? Any
The
good
news
news
on
on the
the
backyard?
The news
Any
on
more
the backyard?
Yeah,
Oh, it's been done.
that's done. Good
Yeah.
deal.
We cut the grass yesterday and it looks really good. The sod's grown in really nicely.
Oh, nice.
Excellent.
Yeah, Cosmo likes his new playground.
Ah! His new playground.
Yeah.
That's good.
Nice. So, but yes, ladies, we're just going to be getting kicked off here in a minute and everything. Just to give you guys a heads up, we're all, like I said, streaming to YouTube, LinkedIn, and to Twitter as we currently set. So everything's right now up and running on those platforms. I did the kind of tinkering of what you sent me, Carla, and for some odd reason, Facebook's still not doing it. So it is what it is.
I see we're live now.
Yeah, we're on LinkedIn Live, Twitter, and YouTube.
Okay.
So that's where we're at right now. So, guess who's going to get the rain now, though? Sandy's getting the rain.
Tomorrow it's going to pour.
Oh, really?
That's
They're
okay.
talking about rain here on Saturday. So, but I don't know if it'll rain or not. We'll see.
Well, it's just supposed to be Thursday. Friday it's supposed to dry up, and the weekend's supposed to be nice, and even for a few days into next week. So,
Mm-mm. Do you get afternoon rains down there in Florida, Brian?
It has been probably low to mid 80s, sunny and perfect for the last 2 months. We might be getting some rain in the next couple of weeks. Summer will eventually arrive.
Eventually.
But, I've heard it's going to be pretty dry this summer, so we'll see.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah.
But,
Yeah.
We're trying to organize our tea times. What days we're going to play golf when we're down that way?
Yes. They're bringing humanity together invitational. I see that. Yes. Yes. And there will be the 19th hole hosted by Carla.
Yeah.
yeah, everything's open, everything's moving right along, and yeah.
Yeah, well, we're trying to figure out what days we're going to play. We're driving over to Vero Beach to visit one of my husband's cousin's aunts, who's 90-something. And so we're going to have lunch with her, and then we decided we play golf in the afternoon.
Vero's a nice area.
So we're going to go there, and we haven't figured out our other golf. So I figure we'll get down there Sunday the 6th just in time to watch the sunset on the beach, and that's all I want.
Yes.
Yeah.
Beach sunsets are pretty, especially when I visit down Key West. That is the most beautiful place to be at sunset. It's on basically at the pole where you have.
I've never been to Key West.
Oh, it is beautiful.
Yeah.
It is
It's
beautiful.
unique.
and I live on
You can take a ferry down there from like Naples.
sunsets every day.
Yeah.
Vancouver's right on the Pacific Ocean, so we have sunsets every day.
Nice.
Yes.
I mean, we have mountains, we have the sea, we have, we're very fortunate geographically where we live. It's very nice. And because by and large, the weather here is mild, you can do stuff all year.
Yeah.
I mean, I live on a golf course, Carla, and people, unless there's snow on the ground, which doesn't happen that often, but
Yeah.
when it does, people golf all year here.
Oh, nice.
All year. And people bike all year here. We have a lot of biking places,
That's nice.
So it's just, we have local mountains, plus Whistler's 2 hours away.
Yeah.
So,
Do they allow people to walk on the golf trail?
Well, they allow people to, there's a trail around the golf course. So it's outside the golf course.
It's not the cart path.
No.
That'd be dangerous.
Because people golf all the time, it's not good to walk on the cart trail. But there's signs everywhere on the trail around the golf course. Watch for flying golf balls.
Oh, really?
So speaking about flying and such, I want to talk about today about flying into probably personal and professional growth that we can do during this post-pandemic era that we're living in. And we kind of touched on it yesterday with Sharon, Kara, Sandy, because I believe personal development and professional development are intertwined and interconnected. So I want to start that conversation off from that standpoint, and I'll go to you, Carla. How can we grow in a post-pandemic world, or do we even need to even bring the post-pandemic world in it? I mean, what say you?
Well, I think regardless of the pandemic, we should all be working on our own personal development, and it's a choice that we make, and you have to be intentional about it and want to do it on a daily basis. To be 1% better than you were yesterday, learn a little something new each and every day. And that bleeds into professional development.
It's also good for your brain.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
you're learning stuff, you're opening up new neural pathways, and that's healthy for your brain.
Yeah.
Good thing, no matter what age you are, particularly at my age, but no matter what age you are.
Yeah. So what's your thoughts on that, Brian?
Yeah, I guess my question would be, why would people have stopped trying to grow personally, professionally, or otherwise?
Why haven't they started?
Yeah, I mean, some people probably haven't started, or if they're doing it and so forth. But yeah, there's a lot of people who don't have plans or action plans to go that direction. It's a semi-intentional act to actually want to improve and be better at whatever it is that you choose to do. There's a lot of people that I know whose businesses grew during the pandemic and continue to grow, regardless of what people tell you. No, there's a lot of people I know, and I can tell you based on my experience, things moved along quite well, and I've made a lot of advancements and stuff in the last year and a half. Different ways of planning and going about it. So yeah, there's certainly an aspect of that. Will business change? Based on my experience, I mean, there's a lot of people who think it's going to be 100% remote, and we can do everything from home, and you can do stuff. And when I was in academics, they like to do this kind of stuff too, where it became very remote and remote office hours, and students can get in touch with you all different ways, and students can take classes from home, and that's nice. But I live in a business world, and last time I checked, a pilot kind of has to show up in order for the plane to take off. Like, they can't be like, "Hey, I'm not flying today." Like, we're not doing virtual surgeries.
Yeah.
Not yet. Depends on how you feel about the vaccine.
We're getting there with robotics. Yeah.
So yeah, I think that there's many opportunities for people to enhance and grow and to do stuff, level up their businesses. We're very quick and to say the world is falling apart and it's awful and there's nothing I can do. Well, okay, then you're right. Just as if you think you can succeed, you're right as well. So it's a matter of perspective. But yeah, Chris, I definitely think that people can take that opportunity and move forward with it. I don't see any reason why they wouldn't. Maybe there's lateral movement, maybe there's shifting. People are reevaluating a lot of things in their life, rightly and wrongly.
So true, so true. Sandy, what say you?
Well, I agree. I think that, there are always opportunities. It's just a matter of maintaining a positive attitude and looking for those opportunities. And I think if people do that, then they can continue to grow personally and they can grow their business. It's just a matter of, sort of adjusting. I mean, I can't do live workshops now because groups are not allowed to gather. So I've been doing webinars, and unfortunately, I don't love webinars, but that's a whole other issue, just because I really prefer being with my participants so that I can see the looks on their faces. And it's also much more difficult to make webinars interactive. And the reason it is, even when you have platforms that have breakout rooms, not all of them allow the people to talk in the breakout room. So they have to communicate via a chat box, which is not as effective as having a conversation. But even the ones where they have the conversation, they're still not in the same room exactly, not physically in the same room. So it is harder for things to be interactive than when you're actually live. So my feeling is that overall, they're not quite as effective as live workshops. Because from my perspective, with a degree in education, the more interactive the learning experience is, the more the people in the session come up with their answers, the more retentive that learning experience is going to be. And particularly with what I teach and what we're going to be providing for our clients, Chris, it's not rocket science. And so you put reasonably intelligent people together, they'll come up with anything you and I can think of. Mm-hmm. And if they come up with it, they're going to remember it better than if I spoon feed it to them. Now, if we have an exercise and they miss something that I think is important, well, I'm of course going to add it at the end. But by and large, most of the time they come up with anything I could have thought of. And again, they're going to remember it better because they came up with it. So it's very important to understand, what the limitations are and what you can do. What I've been doing with coaching, and coaching is fine to do online. I mean, I've been doing it via Zoom. So, and what I do is ahead of time, I send the person the syllabus so that they can follow along and so on and so forth. And I just share my screen and, put up my PowerPoint and we talk and, it's fine. It's not nearly as bad as when you've got a whole bunch of people that you're trying to connect with in a session. It's much harder. I can do it much better when it's live. And I actually miss live sessions because I enjoy them very much. I think they're fun. Mm-hmm. I like my participants to be fun. And there are certain exercises I can't really do in a webinar. Like I can't do a definition game or, some of these other things. And I can't give them prizes because I'm not physically there. So, it's just.
Well, you could still get prizes. You would just have to give it to them, So, I mean, it's either that or do nothing. So, yeah, webinars aren't the easiest thing to do. And I mean, I'd love to get out and meet with people one-on-one, which luckily I can do. But I'm perfectly fine with a Zoom or a Google Meets or whatever, because I think it's just much more personable than just picking up the phone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I'm thankful we have this technology that we can do that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. And see, I'm glad you touching on the dynamics of growth in different ways, everyone, because especially when it comes to what we're building here, bringing you together, that growth is going to come from, I truly believe that it's served us well in this dynamic, which is through the power of intention, the power of connection, and the power of possibilities that are there. So I'll go to you, Brian. What do you say about that?
It just disappeared.
Sorry, I hit the wrong button. There's always possibility. There's never not a possibility. There's always a choice, no matter how many options you have. It's always a choice. I think that people have to identify what they want in their life. What's kind of the end game, if you will. Most people don't really have a plan for how it's going to end to where it is now, and they have an inkling or an idea of what what their values are or what their purposes are. You know, they believe that Simon Sinek is the next coming because he believes to find your why is the only way to go about it. But, you know, it's a matter of really putting together some kind, and if you have to, find someone who can help you get that way or get where you want to get to.
Yes.
A lot of people are just hanging on for today. They don't
Yeah.
even know what's going to happen for tomorrow. And if you ask them where do you see yourself in a year or 5 years, they go, I don't know.
Yeah.
And if you say to them, how do you want the next 30 years of your life to look like if you're my age? They go, I don't know. You know, and it's like,
Yeah,
first, I'm not going to sit around and just wait to die.
yeah, it is. Ben Franklin or someone said, if you fail to plan or you're planning to fail, something to that extent, right?
Yeah.
You know, and a lot of people do. They go kind of with the flow and they do whatever and they live day by day. The problem is the flow goes and then you end up going where the flow goes. That doesn't mean that's where you want to go.
Yeah, who was it that says, oh, just go with the flow? Go. That was what, the 70s, 80s, 90s? Go with the flow.
I mean, that's what a lot of new age and a lot of self-help, you know, gurus tell you. But the problem is then you're at the mercy of something else.
Or don't worry about yesterday. Worry about today. Don't worry about tomorrow. It's like, well, what do you want your life to look like? You got to have a plan of some sort, you know?
Yeah.
And a lot of times people have incomplete plans. I mean, they have bits and pieces of it. They have ideas, they have stuff, but they don't actually regimentedly take care of it, right? There's no regiment to it, right? You know, people create goals, I mean, and then all of a sudden they either accomplish them or they don't, and then they move on to the next thing. It's a little like New Year's resolutions, right? I mean, everyone creates New Year's resolutions, and you know, gym memberships spike 5,000%, and then 2 weeks later they drop back down to normal levels, right?
Every January we say, okay, they'll be out of here in 3 weeks.
Yeah,
they'll be out of here in 2 weeks. They'll be out of here in a week.
Yeah, I think part of
it. But it's true. You know, it's sadly true. People make resolutions that they're going to get healthy, and they last maybe a couple of weeks, and then they're back to their old habits. You know,
old habits unless you're very determined to do so.
Yeah, it's on your mindset. If you feel like you could do it, you're going to do it. If you don't, you don't. If I tell myself I'm going to hit a bad shot, I'm going to hit a bad shot. You know, if I just say hit the friggin' ball, I hit the friggin' ball, and it doesn't go far. You know, it's all here.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It truly is, everyone. But for me, I kind of go to Brian's point. For a lot of my years, especially early on when I was working, I was doing the bits and pieces thing. And I was, saying, "Oh, I'm going to do this and do X amount of stuff."
We all were.
Yeah.
All that once in our life.
Yeah. But now I've come to realize through each and every single one of you that there has to be some way of a semblance of that foundation of that quote unquote game plan. And if you don't have a game plan in place, it's just like how Tom Brady won the title for the Super Bowl. They had a game plan. It's just like Phil Mickelson. He looked, and I think you guys saw the post from Joe Tetro did.
Yeah,
that was amazing. He just knew failure was a teacher to him, and that's part of his plan. He knows that it's going to be there.
Well, failures are just an opportunity to learn.
Yeah, you don't start over. You start from a different place every time.
Exactly.
And you learn from your failures.
I mean, that's what mistakes and failures are for, so we can learn. And people that get wallowing in it, I mean, step back. It's not the end of the world. You don't need to, moan and groan and get stuck in that place, to step back and go, okay, well, that didn't work. Well, what else can I try?
Yeah.
You know, I mean, as far as the fitness thing is concerned, Brian, I work out every day. Occasionally, I will skip a day if we have to do something early in the morning because I work out very early in the morning. But by and large, it's something I've been doing since I was a kid because I've always been very involved in sports and stuff. And you have to stay fit if you're doing those things. And at my age, if I lost my fitness now, it would be disastrous because it would be very much more difficult to get it back. So I'm kind of afraid to quit doing what I do. And I do a pretty rigorous workout every morning for about an hour. And I do all kinds of different exercises. I used to run, but I don't run anymore. I used to run around the golf course, Carla.
Oh, yeah.
I used to run around the golf course about 2.5 times. But now we walk around that golf course.
And how far is that?
It's about 2.5 kilometers.
Okay.
So, and it's a nice trail because it's wooded and, you know, it's very pleasant. But it's handy to have that close by. Like when my son comes, he loves it because it's a great place and you don't need to worry about traffic because there's no cars, there's no streets to cross. You just, you know, are running on this trail around the golf course. So it's very pleasant. Because when you're running the streets, of course, you got to pay attention to traffic and, you know, things that are out there. So it's a little bit more distracting, if you will. But it's important to have a plan to take care of yourself and to stick to it. Because, yeah, if you start and you don't maintain it, then you're not really helping yourself. But it's an attitudinal thing about how important you think it is. And if you think it's important enough, you'll stick to it.
Yeah.
I mean, I told you, my daughter's a dietitian, so sometimes, you know, I figure she's sitting right here looking at what I'm eating, going, "Are you sure you want to eat that?"
I said that to my husband. You sure you want to eat that?
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, she doesn't eat meat. She doesn't eat red meat or she doesn't eat chicken. She eats fish, but she doesn't eat any kinds of meat. And we do. We don't eat a lot of it. We eat chicken usually every Friday. But I will make a roast maybe twice a month. Other than that, we eat pasta and we eat a lot of fish because here in BC, fish is really readily available. In fact, we went to a little place called Steveston, which is a Japanese fishing village. And
nice.
You can buy fish right off the fishing boats.
Mm-hmm.
Talk about fresh fish. I mean, you can just you can buy prawns and you can buy, you know, everything right on the dock. It's really terrific. And there's fish stores there too. You can actually go into the stores and buy it too. But we have a huge variety of fresh fish available here. So it's really easy to get salmon or trout or, you know, whatever, tilapia, you know, whatever you, mahi. I mean, there's everything.
Wow.
And
I remember years ago when I went to the Seattle area, I had an uncle on the peninsula in Sequim, Washington.
Yeah.
And we went, it was August, and we would go crabbing and for Dungeness crabs. And also we went to I want to say it was a fish fry, but it wasn't a fish fry. They actually smoked the salmon in sand pits.
Wow.
We had fire in the trenches, and they had it set up to where they were smoking the salmon in the sand pits with a fire that they had made. It was the best salmon I've ever had.
But what's nice is there's huge variety of fish here, and fish is really easy to make. And it's also, you know, I just like the variety, and I do all kinds of different things. Like sometimes when I make salmon, I do a citrus marinade, or I'll do a ginger and orange marinade, or, you know, I'll do different kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy to do. And fish is delicious. I mean, you know, sometimes I make rice to go along with it and stewed vegetables, or sometimes I'll roast vegetables or I'll roast potatoes, or, you know, so we'll do different kinds of things. And it's just, you know, it's easy to eat and it's easy to prepare. And because we have such a variety of fish here, you can have fish, 5 days a week, and there'll be different fish every day. So it's fine. And of course, it's very healthy. So, we eat probably more fish than anything else. The chicken that I make on Fridays, I usually make enough so that I have enough left over for one meal. Like tonight, that's what we're having. We're having leftover chicken. So I just make up a plate and stick them in the microwave.
So Brian, the more I'm thinking about this topic today, I go to you yet again because you taught me so well in so many of the great deep thinking and thought-provoking discussions that we've had, and it leads me to this. When you say that you know how to live the life that you love, how's that when it comes into relation to growth? How's that worked out for you?
Well, I in its simplest form, we're all cause in the matter. And I have created a passion or a passion mantra, and I live to that. I mean, I've started at the end and kind of worked my way back, and I've created it in such a way for a life that I love, that, there's no reason why we can't do that. And I've been able to create it in such a way that life works for me and others around me. It's not a mystery. It's not like a secret or anything like that. It's just I've been intentional with what I do and how I do it and when I do it.
What it was going to look like, and then you just figured out how can I make this work?
Yeah, I mean,
I need to do.
We have a finite amount of assets to utilize, and you start finding ways to utilize them. One of which is time. You get very comfortable saying no to things. You pick and choose. I work with only certain amounts of people and certain types of people, because that's who I choose to work with. Like, I don't have to do certain things. So it makes it easy, and you know where to look for what you need, as opposed to being at the mercy of everyone around you, or circumstances or situations and things. Those are all kind of superfluous to whatever it is that I'm doing. So yeah, it's just kind of a plan that I've put together in the last several years that was intentionally created. And it's a living thing. It's not static. It's not like once I've done it, this is it. I review all my stuff probably quarterly, 6 months, every year. I reevaluate things, goals, values, wants. I have a lot of wants. And as I check them off, you move on to new wants. Goals, you check them off and move on to new goals. So yeah, wants are good. You should want things.
What do you think about that, Carla?
Well, you have to look at what you want the rest of your life to look like, and figure that out, and figure out what you've got to do to make that happen, and reverse engineer it to say, this is what I've got to do, and it's not going to come overnight. Take those baby steps, and you have to have wants. I am personally, without your health, you're not going to have any of those things come true, because you're going to be too sick to actually enjoy them. But I had that discussion. I've had it, so we kind of address it kind of quarterly too. What do you want the next several years to look like, and what do we need to do to make that happen? And I mean, down to the nth degree. I mean, we're talking about moving down to Florida one day, and How close to the beach do you want to be? What do you want the house to look like? Do you want a screened-in porch? Do you want a pool or not a pool? Do you want to live on a golf course, or you just want to have access to golfing at several different places, that kind of thing? Do you want to be in what kind of area? And for my husband, at first, it was like, well, hell, I don't know. And I'm like, just close your eyes and think about it. Would you want to be able to walk to the drugstore or the grocery store or whatever? Do you want to have to drive for half an hour to get to it or whatever? What do you want that to look like? And a lot of people don't allow themselves to actually think in that amount of detail because they can't get out of today.
Yeah.
And they can't get out of worrying about tomorrow. Tomorrow's going to happen regardless of what we do. Can't worry about yesterday. The only thing you can do is say, maybe I screwed up yesterday and I wasn't good at X, Y, and Z. Well, today plan to be a little bit better, and tomorrow's going to happen. How do you want it to look? Or do you just want to sit back and let life just kind of happen to you? Or do you want to create your own life?
And I love what you just said there, Carla. We have the intentional choice to have life do things to us and we just let it happen to ourselves. Or we actually define our journey and define our path because we choose it to this is the way we're going to do it. And I saw this on a LinkedIn post many months ago. We're human beings. We're not human doings. Even though the do matters and action matters, I truly believe in, I've learned this from Brian so much, it's about being in a state of being. If you know this is what you want and you know you're going to be intentional about it and he's done for himself, living the life that he loves, he can go do those things and be okay. This is how I'm going to live the life that I love. And I every time now, I'm just going back to that. I'm like, I'm in with the right people at the right time in my life, and I don't regret a single minute of it because I've learned so much from each and every single one of you. It's priceless and it's so valuable, and I'm just so thankful and honored because I truly believe the power of the people you surround yourself with.
Power connections.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I truly believe in that because
a lot of people think about, they think of the pandemic as being horrible, and yes, there are people that have suffered greatly, but you can choose to be a victim or not, and figure out, okay, yeah, it hadn't been great, but what has it taught me? And somebody told me a line that I heard. Been a few months ago that I really found great. We're so used to saying, how did 2020 treat you? The new year comes up, people want to know how you doing, how was the last year, how did 2020 treat you? As opposed to saying, how did you treat 2020?
Nice.
Or how is 2021 treating you? Or how are you treating 2021? What are you doing to make it the best year possible? To make it the best day possible? To make it the best week possible? To make it the best month possible? To make it the best year possible? Yeah, life's going to suck. There are days that it's just like nothing goes right, and that's okay. That's life. But it's your attitude on how you look at it that's going to direct where you're going to go. Are you going to sit and wallow in the negativity, or are you going to be positive, have a grateful attitude for the little things that you have in life, and say, what am I going to do to make it better? Because no one's going to do it for you. You have to get out there and do it yourself.
Spot on, as always, Carla. Spot on. I couldn't have said it better. That's powerful. That really is. That truly goes to the power of intention.
You have to be intentional about it. You have to have a plan for every day. And yeah, that plan may not go as you expect. You may not get everything done, but you know what? You did what you could do, and you figure out how you're going to get it done later, and you do it.
Or even in some cases, if you know that it's just literally just frustrating you or whatever, you just say, okay, let me take a break.
Mark, later on. Yeah. Walk away. Yeah. Yeah. You know, Sandy, you know, which is a great example. Yeah, we don't like to do webinars and we don't like to have to do meetings on Zooms or anything like that. Well, okay, so if you got your own business, you got two choices. You either don't do them and you don't make any money, or you get out there and do it.
Yeah, exactly. Like I'm giving a webinar on
It's your
June.
choice. It's your choice.
It's a professional development day for one of the universities.
You can do all the personal development courses you want and the coaching courses and pay all this kind of money. And you can spend all this time to get ready, but you got to get out there and do it.
Absolutely.
Nobody can do it for you. You've got to do it.
I've also turned a lot of my live workshops into e-learning programs, and I have a different website for that as well. But it's just a matter of, you got to adapt. And what my husband and I do is we plan every week and every weekend what we're going to do and how we're going to do it. And, you know, he goes to work every morning, and today he's stopping by a client's house on the way home. And then, you know, I've got lunch prepared because that's what I did this morning. I also know what we're going to have for dinner. So later I'll make up the plates and, you know, and I also do a lot of research online. I research for new exercises to put into programs. I research on the topics that I teach to make sure that I'm teaching things that are up to date and so on and so forth. And of course, I blog on 3 sites. So I'm very busy writing blogs, sending them to Dennis, publishing them on my sites. And that takes up time as well. You know, and I set aside time to do those things. I also try now, since the weather's been better, to play golf with my daughter once a week. And we've been doing that. We're not going to be able to do it this week because the golf course is going to be a muddy mess. But anyway, we've been trying to do that. And, you know, it's just a matter of doing the different things that you like to do. And that's why, you know, generally speaking, every afternoon that it's pleasant, my husband and I go for a walk. And sometimes we walk around here. But other times we drive to a different neighborhood, and I always take my cell phone. And I think I told you guys this. If we go past somebody's house that we know, I phone them. And I say, hey, we're on the sidewalk in front of your house. Come out on your porch and we'll have a visit. People love it because they're not seeing people either. So this is a way that we can actually have a visit with some of our friends. And my husband's sister lives in the same complex that we do. And so sometimes I'll phone Sylvia and see if she wants to go for a walk because she's 91 and she's very frail. She was in a terrible car accident over a year ago in Palm Springs. And so she's walking with a walker now. But she does go out and take walks every day that it's pleasant. And good for her. You know, she's determined to get some of her strength back. And we encourage her to do that. Fortunately, she has one of her grandsons and his girlfriend living with her. And Eli's amazing because he's very positive. He does all the cooking and he likes to bake. And he also does the grocery shopping. And if Sylvia needs to go to the doctor, he takes her. And if she needs to get a haircut, he takes her to the hairdresser and she can get a haircut. So, I mean, it's really, and we feel really good that there's somebody in the house because she lives in a 2-story house and her bedroom is upstairs. And God forbid if she fell and she was all by herself, you know, it'd be really scary. So this way, they're there. And it's good, you know, and if they're away, so then we check up on her, you know, every day, a few times a day, just to make sure everything's okay. And I've had her for dinner a number of times as well, especially if Eli and Cindy aren't there. And the only other person in our bubble is our daughter. And so, you know, in fact, one of the times I had Sylvia here for dinner, Elisa was worried. And so she went and got a COVID test because she thought if she exposed her aunt, because Sylvia in the accident got a punctured lung and it's still not healed. So it would this virus would probably kill her. And Lisa was very nervous about that. So she went and got a COVID test and she was clear. And she's also vulnerable herself because she's a cancer survivor. She has asthma and she's had heart surgery.
Yeah.
She's young. So she's very vulnerable to it. She's had her first shot. She had the Pfizer vaccine. and she's trying to register for the second one. Yale and I have had our first shot as well. We had the Moderna.
Mhm.
And we're also registered online to get a second one. I'm waiting to hear back. And if I don't hear back soon, I will phone again. But it's just a matter of, well, listen, sometimes you got to bug them. The problem right now is there's not a lot of Moderna vaccine in Canada. So that's probably one of the reasons. But they said we could have Pfizer. So, we'll just see what happens. But it is a matter of, it's totally attitude, Carla. It's a matter of, yes, you got to make a plan. And no, nobody's life at the long, straight, smooth road. It just doesn't work that way. And so you've got to go with the bumps and the curves and the, whatever. And that's life. I mean, it just is. Yale and I have always looked at life as, a place to have fun. And even though we are spending more time together right now than we have for a very long time, we're having fun. I mean, we enjoy each other's company, and we have a lot of common interests, and we miss some of the things that we can't do now. I mean, we like to go to plays, and we like to go to concerts, and we like to go to movies, and we like to go out to restaurants. We can't do any of those things now.
Yeah.
So what we've been doing, usually on the weekend, we pick up food at a restaurant. And that's what we did last weekend. We picked up some East Indian food because when we were in Steveston, we have a friend who has a restaurant there, and it's a really good Indian restaurant. So first of all, we went to see him anyway, and then we ordered food and went for a walk while it got prepared, and then we took it home. And it was, the portions are so big that we actually got 2 meals out of it. So, that was nice. And it was nice to see him. He has a big patio, and the inside of his restaurant, the ceilings are like 20 feet high. We haven't eaten in his restaurant recently, but we have picked up food a couple of times. And he's a very nice guy, and his wife works in the kitchen.
Oh, wow.
But, again, it's just a matter of what is your attitude about these things?
Well, you can look at life as having speed bumps, or you can look at life as having mountains that you have to climb.
Well, exactly. I mean, we're very fortunate, as I said here, because there are lots of places that we can go that are pleasant to walk. I mean, there are trails along the Fraser River. There are trails around all the golf courses that we have in Vancouver, and we have lots of golf courses here. So you can go and park in the parking lot of the golf course and go take the trail around the golf course.
Yeah.
And we've done that a lot. And it was nice to go. It was Yale's idea to go to Steveston on Saturday. And we went, we had lunch at a patio restaurant there, and also pleasant. Plus, it's sort of a quaint little village. So there are little shops and, different things. Plus, it's along the Fraser River, so you can walk along the river there as well. So it's, it was a nice thing to do.
And you can make the best of what you've got.
Well, and we spent most of the day there. I mean, that was what most of our day was. And, it was good. And, on Sundays, we always have a Skype call with our son, daughter-in-law, and 2 little grandsons. And we always look forward to that, and we always have fun.
And thank goodness you can do that.
Well, yeah, I mean, we're very fortunate, you mentioned this, Carla, to have the technology that we have today, because without it, this pandemic would be worse. I mean, it really would, because it would be harder to stay in touch with people. I mean, we haven't been, normally I go to Toronto at least 3 times a year, sometimes 4 times a year. I haven't been to Toronto now for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And I even said to my younger grandson a few months ago, I said, Sam, we haven't seen you guys for, over a year. And he looks at me and goes, we see you every Sunday on Skype. I said, I know, but I don't get my hugs. So he wraps his arms around himself. He goes, I'm hugging you as tight as I can. Can you feel it? He's so cute.
So everyone, I got to bring this up because we've been mentioning it a lot in some of the posts that we've been commenting on. Evidently, we have a lot of fun here bringing humanity together.
Yeah, absolutely.
No.
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 So when it comes to the dynamic of fun, can we make growth fun for everyone who wants to really to grow and to thrive in not only an organization, but more importantly in life itself? Can fun be a tangible way forward when we come to growth?
Absolutely.
I mean, again,
It's in your attitude.
yeah, it's totally in your attitude, Chris. It's how people approach things. And again, my view of life is this: life is too short not to have fun. So I'm sorry. I don't like being around negative people. I hate negativity.
Yeah,
I just, it's depressing. I'm sorry, and there's no point in being negative because, again, your life, that's it. Okay. So in the big scheme of things, so it's a matter of what are you doing with your life? Don't you want it to be meaningful? Don't you want it to be fun? Don't you want it to be interesting? Don't you want it to have some challenges? I mean,
a lot of people don't even know what they want their life to look like. All they know is they don't like what's going on. Well, why don't you like what's going on? Think about your attitude,
And I, in a way, I feel sorry for some of those people because, I mean, you're missing your life, and life is just way too short. I mean, I was talking to one of my girlfriends yesterday, and she's a widow, and her husband was such a character. I mean, whenever you phoned their house, you had no idea who Irv was going to be when he answered the phone. Sometimes he talked like a woman, and sometimes he imitated.
That sounds like something my husband would do.
He was hysterical. And at his funeral, and at the Shiva afterwards, which is what Jewish people do, they have services and people get to talk about the person who passed away. Everybody had stories about her. And I said to Sharon yesterday, I said, I know it's been a while since he died, but I said, none of us have ever forgotten him because we all had experiences with him that were hysterical. And so, he lives on in everybody's memory because we all have memories of the things that he did. And he was such a funny guy. I mean, he was absolutely hysterical. And that's what made it fun. When we would go out for dinner with them or whatever, we always had a good time. And, I think that's what life is about, is enjoying the people that are in your life. And if we can't actually physically be with them right now, at least we can talk to them on Skype or Zoom or, something, so that we can have a face-to-face conversation. I mean, I have 3 friends who are widows, and I feel very sorry for them because it's hard. Like Sharon said to me yesterday, well, at least you have Yale, you have someone to do things with. She says, I'm all alone. I said, I know, and it's hard. Because one of her sons lives in Toronto and one lives in Kelowna. She has one son in Vancouver. But it's very hard for her because normally she goes to Toronto like we do. And she's got a grandson that's got a bar mitzvah coming up this fall, and she doesn't think she's going to be able to go, and she's very disappointed. And our grandson's bar mitzvah is next fall. So I'm hoping that things will be, better by then, and we'll be able to go to Toronto for that. But it's just, I mean, things are what they are, and I'm not keen to get on an airplane right now just because I don't think it's a very safe place, especially not for 5 hours. So, so it's just, and I don't want to, it takes days to drive to Toronto, so we're not driving there either. Yeah. But it's just, it's just a matter of accepting that this is how it is right now. We don't have a choice. It's too bad. And, it is what it is. Like, even we normally go to Toronto for Passover, and we haven't gone now for 2 years. But what we did is we did the Seder on Zoom. And so Mark and Kim and the boys were at their table, and Kim's parents were on the call, and her brother was on the call, and our daughter was on the call. So it was sort of like we were together, even though physically we weren't, but at least, we were all there. And Mark assigned reading, Yale and I sat in this room here, and we had our glasses of wine and our plate of matzah and our haggadahs, and, Mark assigned readings, and, it was sort of like we were at the same table, but it wasn't. But, it was better than nothing. And that's what people have to do. They have to figure out, okay, yes, it's not perfect. It's not the normal that we're used to, but it doesn't mean that we can't connect with people, that we can't do the things that we want to do, and that we can't have fun. There's no reason why we can't. It's just, again, it's a matter of how do you approach things. And I stay in touch with my best friends on a regular basis. And, we have socially distanced. There's 3 of us, and our birthdays are like, within a month of each other, and we've always done lunches for our birthdays. And so this year, when it was earlier, we went to patio restaurants for our birthdays. So we actually did get together. And it was nice, it was nice to see them. I mean, we've done this for years, and, we're not going to stop doing it. So, it's just a matter of, what are you doing? You got to adjust. And what they've done here is, restaurants were allowed to have diners on patios, and they've even blocked off lanes on streets to put tables out. You can't believe what they've done here. It's really,
out into the street.
Yes, they've taken up a lane of the street, like the parking lane, Carla. And
Yeah.
people have put up tables with umbrellas and heaters and, the whole 9 yards, so that people could actually go out and eat. In coffee shops, the same thing. In fact, they've blocked off some streets, whole
Yeah.
street, like a block off of the first block off of Main Street, and they blocked it off and they set up tables and, all kinds of things so that people can get together outside. And that's why golf is good, because, we can play golf. You can physically distance on the golf course from other people. And, you're out there in the fresh air, and at least you're doing something fun. And, it's nice to do that. Also here, you see people playing tennis, same thing. You can physically distance playing tennis. You're on the opposite sides of the net. You're far away. So it's another sport that people can play. And here, people are biking like crazy. All the bike shops are very full. You cannot get a bicycle to save your life. You don't have a bike, good luck. You can't buy one. But there are.
I remember roller skates were like that too.
So,
when the pandemic first started and people wanted, you couldn't get like workout equipment, bicycles, or roller skates.
you see whole families biking. I mean, my son and his wife and their boys, they go on biking rides, all of them. And, it's, again, you're outside, you're getting some exercise, you see other people on the road, because there's lots of people biking. And we have all kinds of biking places here that are safe to bike. So, it's, again, what are you doing? Yes, it's a pandemic. Yes, it's a pain in the ass. Yes, it's not very much fun. But there are things that we can do so we can still enjoy our lives. You don't need to have a couple of lost years here where
if you believe that life is terrible, it's going to be terrible. Yeah. If you believe to look at it with a positive attitude and grow from it and get out and do the things you can do and go, not exactly what I wanted to do, but at least I can get out and do something. It's on how you look at it. Well, so you believe whatever goes between your 6 inches between your ears.
Well, the other thing we did, we got Netflix. Our kids bugged us. And so in the evenings, we will watch stuff on Netflix.
I don't think I've ever watched Netflix.
Okay. Well, there's tons of stuff on it. There's movies, there's programs, there's all kinds of things, Carla.
I don't think I've ever. Well, I just did a post recently. Somebody passed it on to me, and it was like a whole list of different shows and whatnot. Yeah. And the game was there was like 100 things. And you probably saw it, Sandy, because you follow me on social media. Put a heart next to the programs that you watched maybe 10 times. I had 2. and I reposted it, and I said, I don't even know why I have a TV. Okay? But
well,
my husband has control of the remote most of the time, which is totally fine with me. So it's not one of these. I'm just kind of I'm half watching it and reading and doing other things. So I don't really care. But then he'll fall asleep and he's got the remote in his hand and it's on the channel surfer for YouTube TV. And I'll go, hey, are you watching the news or are you surfing? And he'll say, oh, I was surfing the channels. And I'm like, oh, okay. So what are we going to watch? Well, yeah. But I'm just not a big TV watcher, and I don't think I've ever watched Netflix.
Well, we also read a lot. So I mean, I've got a Kindle, and I have got a gazillion books on there, and I belong to a book club. And actually, we have our meeting coming up soon, but we're not meeting in person anymore. Now we have our book club on Zoom. So we still have the same format where somebody does the book review. And that's all been decided ahead of time. And then, we can ask questions or we can make comments or whatever. And so we still have our book club meetings, but now we're just doing them on Zoom.
Yeah, so I read before I usually fall asleep and then I have to go back and reread it.
So. Yeah, and see, again, this is what comes back to why are we here? We're here to make an impact through where we are at currently in our lives. And I'm going to ask Brian this. Brian, do you believe fun can be a true part of growth, whether it be professional or otherwise?
Absolutely. Most people look at growth or development in kind of a forced or required manner in business a lot of times. in academics, it tends to be looked at as you have to be told what to do. And a lot of times people look at it distrustingly and so forth. But yeah, absolutely. It depends on the nature of the growth and the experience. So some of it's hurtful, some of it's sad, some of it's dealing with a lot of emotional barriers that people haven't dealt with for 50, 60 years. But yeah, absolutely, it can be made to be fun, and it doesn't necessarily mean it takes a long time either. I'm not into the talk therapy that takes 30 years and goes nowhere, which is what a lot of people end up doing. But yeah, it most certainly can be fun. Any learning, there's an aspect of enjoyment to it, or at least there should be.
Yeah, there should be.
It doesn't always come off that way, but yeah, I don't see why it couldn't be fun for people. You just have to make it fun.
Yeah.
And see, I had to do that from my mind, especially when I was diagnosed with my 2 learning abilities, not disabilities, but abilities, that I had to make things fun for me. So I enjoyed what I did, and I didn't want to make it mundane and just oh, woe is me and that kind of thing. So I just didn't want to go down that road. So I truly believe fun, it can be a true integral part of professional growth, which will intertwine with personal growth. So I believe that. And like I said, each and every single one of you guys have impacted me in more ways than I could possibly ever repay. I truly believe that. And that's why I truly want your help, experience, insights, expertise to really get this up off the ground, because I know it's going to be not a matter of when we get big. It's only going to be a matter of and it's not, excuse me, I'll take it back. It's not a matter of if we get big, it's only going to be a matter of when we get big. And like I said, I just have that positive mindset because, again, I believe in the power of positivity and the power of possibility. And I even wrote an article for Dennis on that because I truly believed in it. So, but Brian, I got to ask you this, because we had a conversation last night about the mission statement. And I want to extend an opportunity for you to expand on what you was talking about last night, and maybe talk about it on next week's Conversations for Humanity. Would you be up for that?
Well, share what the mission statement is again.
Yes, because we're on Clubhouse last night, and I was sharing in the discussion about I forget what we were talking about, but
leadership.
Yeah, and I was asking people what they thought about the mission statement. And I said, if I help you, you help me, then we help we. And then Brian had to say this.
Well, it dawned on me as I was listening to it for I don't know how many times, but this is what it showed up last night for me was we're making the assumption that 1, I can help you. 2, I'm here to help you, and 3, that the person actually or people actually want help.
Yeah.
Right? And it kind of comes across to me of a lot of assumption there that, the word help infers I have the answer, you don't, in many ways, in a certain context. And I'm not saying that it isn't. It was just something that struck me as I heard it that way. That I was like, well, that's kind of an interesting one. That, I'm assuming the people we're here talking to need help. Well, how do we know that? Right? And it just kind of correlated to a little bit about what's happened in the last year and a half with people using the word should and need and have to and must and, telling everyone else how to behave and what they must do. They must wear masks. They must get a vaccine. They must listen to my authority. They must do this. And okay, it comes across of not respecting someone else's model of the world, that my model's right, yours is wrong. and we have to do this to help everyone else because I know and you don't. And I'm thinking to myself, well, that's interesting. What if you don't know?
Yes.
And how do you know that you know? Right? It kind of got back to that thing of experts and so forth. And I'm not saying people don't know. I'm just kind of the way things are presented, language to people, whether it be in social media, the media, or otherwise, it's very kind of opinion isn't given as opinion. It's masquerading as fact and reality. And, you know, I live in Florida and everything's been open and nobody wears masks anymore unless you choose to wear a mask. But there's no mandates, not that it was ever a law. There's no, you can walk into a business and not wear it. They can't stop you. You can wear it if you want, and nobody says anything. Nobody cares. I mean, I've been inside for the last year and a half, going indoors, eating inside. We went somewhere in Delray. There's a big market, and it's an indoor eatery, and there's thousands of people walking around.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody cares. People are just back to their normal life. And there's some people who wear them, some people don't, and people just move on. And it's like, it could have been this way, and it could always be this way if you just understand that people live different lives and look at the world differently, and you can respect someone else's model of the world for just what it is. And I don't have to impose my views because that's my views, or they don't have to impose theirs on me. And it's like, okay, we can just coexist.
Yes.
And that's okay.
Amen.
Like, and that's where I kind of heard what the mission statement is like, why are we assuming that people need help, and why am I assuming that I'm here to help them? What if they don't ask for my help?
Well, then you won't help them.
Like, so that was just kind of what it was, Chris, and it's not
it's
not a negative or not.
And see, that's why I wanted you to bring it up, so we maybe even, like I said, talk about it on next Wednesday's call, because, like I said, that was a unique one for me. I'm like, Brian is blowing me out of the water here. Oh my gosh, he's making me think even more so now. And I was thinking, oh my word.
That's why it always comes up with something different for everybody else. It's good.
I know.
That's
why we love it.
It just came up that way. I mean, I don't know. It just occurred to me that way.
All right. It's good. It's a different perspective. And
Yeah,
it's good.
I don't know. And I'm not saying change it. I'm just saying that I think we have to. I think one of the things that gets lost in the messaging is people don't say things the way they want them to be done or said or what.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I want to become better at doing that.
Like,
because
if you read a lot of marketing copy, they try to be cute, they try to be creative, as opposed to just being clear and direct, right? And I don't think we communicate as clearly and effectively as we can. Say it the way you want, right? I mean, what does it mean to bring your humanity to the workplace, right? Does it mean treat people with respect? Then we'd just say, create a work environment where we treat people for respect, right? Or you respect people's models of the world, or whatever variation is. But be specific of what it is, because bringing humanity is nice. It's a very high level, abstract agreement language. And everybody agrees with it. Nobody's going to say no. But that's.
And Brian, I guess, had to go because I guess he got interrupted from whatever he was doing. So no worries there, Brian. We'll definitely hear from you here shortly. But so, ladies, what would be the call to action when it comes to personal and professional growth? Which, like I said before, are one and the same. And there's Brian back. What would that call to action be?
Call to action is start paying attention to what you say and how you say it, and say it the way you want it.
But you can't make people do things they don't want to do. So if people don't want to plan their lives or they don't want to improve themselves in different ways, we can't make them.
Nope.
It's only if somebody wants to improve or wants to learn something or, whatever, then we got a heck of a chance of helping them. Otherwise, no. I mean, I told you about the guy at Fraser Health where, he was yelling at patients because they weren't paying their bills. And the managers wanted me to teach him how to communicate better. And I asked them if I could talk to him. So they brought him in and they left the room. And he looked at me and said, they're picking on me and these people need to pay their bills. And I know how to talk to them. And, like this. And I said, okay, well, thank you very much for your time. You can go back to your office now. So they came in and I said, don't hire me. And they said, what? I said, this guy has absolutely no interest in changing his behavior. So you have two choices. One, fire him on the spot. Or two, if he can stay in your accounting department because he's good in that work, but he never, ever, ever gets to talk to a patient again, then you can keep him. But I said, there's no way that I can help him because he doesn't want to be helped. I mean, just, how it is, as opposed to the Bank of Montreal manager that I coached. And he wanted to fix the problem he was having with his staff. And that, again, I mean, that's 90% of the battle. And I told you, first thing I said to him was, I said, you've got to start doing something that isn't very intuitive to a man. He went, what? I said, you've got to start paying attention to the nonverbal messaging these women are sending to you. He goes, what does that mean? I said, you got to look at the way they're standing and the look on their face. And if they look uncomfortable, you got to stop and say, I am so sorry. What did I just do to make you be uncomfortable so that I don't do it again? Please tell me what it was. And, again, this guy was an East Indian man and he comes from a very patriarchal society. So I'm not surprised that he didn't know how to pay attention to these things, but he wanted to fix it. And so we talked about a number of things that he could do. And then at the end, I just told him, listen, here's my card. If you have any questions between now and 3 weeks from now, because I'm going to phone you in 3 weeks to see how things are going, then you give me a shout. Well, he didn't phone me, but I phoned him. And I said, so what's happening? He said, the whole atmosphere in the bank has changed. I said, well, good for you. That means that you're doing the right things now. He said, well, thank you so much. I said, no, thank you for actually, implementing the things that we talked about. And then he said the funniest thing, and it even works at home. So, it's just a matter of this was a guy who wanted to fix the problem.
Yeah.
And so offering him strategies and approaches, he put them into use. And so things, and I heard back from HR and they said there's no more complaints coming. And see, these women didn't complain to him, they complained to HR. And so HR called him in and he was shocked. He had no idea that he was causing these problems. And he was horrified because, they said he was a good manager. They didn't want to fire him. But when he came in and said, well, what can I do? And they said, well, we'll get you some help. So, it's just a matter of who are you dealing with? People who want to fix things, who want to change, who want to learn things, piece of cake. People who don't, you might as well go over there and bang your head against the wall because nothing's going to happen. Right. And that's why I didn't want to take the money from Fraser Health because I knew that this guy wouldn't change. And it would just frustrate the heck out of me anyway. That wouldn't have been fun.
Yeah.
And I told them that. I said, I do this because I have fun. This would not be fun. This guy doesn't want to change and nothing's going to happen here. So I don't want to take your money. He just looked at me and said, I can't believe that. Thank you so much for being honest. I said, I'm always honest. It's how I operate. And, there was just no point in trying to fix him. He didn't want to be fixed.
Right.
So you're right, Brian. The people that are going to come to us are going to come to us because they're seeking some help. Because they have a problem or something that's causing them pain or whatever it is. And what we're going to have to do is sit down with them and have what I call a discussion interview to find out very specifically what they're looking for. In other words, what is their problem? And then we can talk about what elements we can put into a program to provide them with some new approaches and some new skills and so on and so forth. And then we can develop the program and present it to their employees or, to whoever needs it, whatever. Maybe it's one of the leaders that just needs coaching. It doesn't matter what it is, but we need to find out very specifically what they're looking for. But those are the people that will come to us, people who are looking for help. We're not going to go after people to see if they want help. That's not how this works. And it's very hard to sell this kind of training with push marketing. It really doesn't work. When somebody has a problem, generally what they do is they Google it. So whether they're an individual or they're an organization, they will Google the problem. That's why it's so important to have Nathaniel, because he's really good with SEO. So
Yes.
he'll meta tag stuff and do keywords and whatever we want. And so when they Google whatever they're looking for, we're going to come up.
Yeah.
So that's how they're going to find us.
So Carla, what will be your call to action?
Well, you can't help anyone that doesn't want to help themselves. And you can have a service to offer them and be there for them. People are going to choose their own mindset and choose their own direction. A whole lot better when you got a game plan and gear. I think that everyone should work on their own personal development, and that leads into professional development. Makes you a better person. But I can't make anybody do it. I can just lead by example.
Exactly.
And that was well said, Brian. Decide who you want to work with first. That is so true. Well said. I truly believe that. So,
yeah, I mean, you have to decide who you want to work with from criteria standpoint, because you can't work with everyone, but you don't want to work with everyone.
No.
Yeah.
And depending on the nature of your services and how much you're going to pay and the value and so forth, you want just a certain number of people. You don't want many clients. Right? And that's what I do. I mean, and I do that even in my own coaching. I have a criteria, and there's more people that I won't work that I will work with.
I have a friend of mine that used to say that he would qualify people. Let's see if this is going to be a good fit for you. And I think, well, that's kind of weird. And he says, well, I'm not just going to work with anybody. I want to work with people that are serious about wanting to work together and make a change.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, and it's not even just doing that. It's what kind of job do they have? What kind of interests do they have? What kind of income level? What kind of education? Are they married? Are they not married? Do they have kids? All various things that help you to identify what it is, right? I mean, there's a lot of people that I know that work specifically with people who have gone through divorces, and they work with women who have gone through divorces, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have to be open to everyone, whatever is important to you. And it doesn't mean you have to pick and choose. Maybe it doesn't matter. I know people who won't work with people because they charge a high enough price that it prices a vast majority of people out, right? I mean, I know some people who only want to work with executives, some people who only want to work with top level athletes. The company I work for in M&A, we only work for certain size companies because we have fees and services that garner that a smaller company wouldn't be able to afford it. It's just not in the realm, and that's fine. I mean, but so that's where it becomes, and that's even for your organization, Chris, of building, what services and who are you providing those services to, right? Because once you get clear on what that clientele is, you can then start targeting that client.
Right.
Who do they follow? What do they read? All different stuff.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And again, like I said, I've just learned so much from each and every single one of you. That's why I'm so thankful and honored that you're in my life and I can be in yours, that we had that true relationship that we learn and grow together. And I'm just, like I said, so appreciative of that. So, Carla, I know you're going to probably talk about burnout maybe from a corporate perspective tomorrow.
Yeah.
Nice. Because what we were talking about burnout on Thursday was really good, and I appreciate that. And again, as always, every single one of you, like I said, has bringing your A game each and every single conversation. I appreciate that. So we'll see you guys on the next Conversation for Humanity next Wednesday. And of course, remember, Sharon Cares on Tuesday, and Humanity Happy Hour and quote unquote the 19th hole will be tomorrow at 3 o'clock. So bring your what is it called? Dips? Is that?
Oh, the tips and sips I'm doing tonight.
Yeah. Tips and sips. Nice.
Golf tips and sips.
Yeah, there you go.
And
All right,
9
everyone. All right, everyone. I greatly appreciate you guys. Have a wonderful Wednesday. Make it your day, and we'll see you on the next Conversations for Humanity next week.